This podcast contains strong language, mention of bodily functions, brutal motherhood, and things that you probably shouldn't say in front of your kids. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, little rabbit drop-ins. And then at the moment, I swear to God that I was pooping and baby's head is like coming down. The I'm at this point bent over on the bed, one leg up in the air on the bed, the other leg down on the floor, pooping on the floor. The lady's put down this puppy pad for me, and then one of the poor little ladies carrying my lunch order walks in and she's like, vegetable curry.
And you're shitting on the floor with
And
your
I'm
leg cocked
literally
up in the air.
bum to the door, leg cocked up in the air. Yeah. So that was honestly awful. Honestly awful. Poor lady. Um, so I, yeah, I was pushing, pushing, pushing. The pushing phase was half an hour. So I had an hour and a half of labor and then half an hour of pushing. And yeah, I felt the baby moving down with every push, and then I would get really frustrated because I would also feel his head bob back up. So like at the end of the push, I was trying to keep his head there, but I could feel it keep coming back up, and then push him down, and then he would come back up a bit. But every time he would come down a bit lower, and then my mum came round. She was holding like cold flannels on my head and my neck. Then she came round and was looking from behind, and then I could just hear her start sobbing. And
Oh, bless her.
yeah, and it was because his head was there, and she was going, "Oh, it's amazing, it's amazing," and I couldn't feel it, but like I think she could see his head before he actually popped out, and then when eventually I felt a bit of a pop and a scratch. I felt his hand was by his head, and as he came out, he scratched my clit, and he literally split my up to my clit. It was pretty bad. Um,
Oh,
I felt a scratch and some burning, and my mum was crying, my partner was crying, and I felt excited and relief that everything was okay. Baby was here. My umbilical cord was really short, so it was actually really uncomfortable because I didn't want them to cut it until the blood had all transferred over.
yeah,
But I couldn't really hold him like comfortably against my chest because my umbilical cord was so short. I had to hold him really low down.
yeah.
Um, they said it was a boy. I said okay,
Cheers, love.
and then I cuddled him for about an hour, I think. And then the
Oh,
cord was pulsing that whole time. They didn't do anything until the cord stopped pulsing. It took absolutely ages. I read the Positive Birthing Company said about like 5 to 10 minutes or 20 minutes maybe, and mine was still going for like an hour. And then they said they were going to do the injection for the placenta, but then just as they were about to administer the injection, the placenta came out. And then they were touching my belly and they were like, oh, we think there's still some in there, so we need to do the injection anyway. So that can sometimes happen. And just to make sure that they got it all out, because they could get an infection if they don't get it all out, they did the injection and then nothing more came out. But there was a little bit of blood, but nothing major. Got stitched up. Had the funky like inhaler. That was the only drugs I had. I had this like green, I think it was green inhaler while she stitched me up, but it was apparently
yeah.
just like alcohol. But I felt a bit funny then when she was doing that, and I started shivering and shaking and felt just really generally unwell.
I think that's shock though, because like you have a lot of adrenaline and
Yes, now looking back at 100%, it was just shock and the fact that I had been through a really, really intense 2 hours, and I think my body was just knackered, and I hadn't eaten in that 2.5 hours, and um, I probably hadn't eaten for longer than that actually. I had a jacket potato for lunch, which was at like 12, and then this was at this point it was like 6:30. I gave birth. So,
how good
um,
is that first slice of toast and a cup of tea though? As soon as you've had a baby, fucking hell,
no,
best
I
slice of
felt
toast
so.
of my life.
Oh, I heard this and I was so excited for it, but actually I felt so unwell. I I was at the point I think where I was so hungry that food made me feel sick. So I started
Yeah.
drinking the tea and eating the food, and then I kept thinking I was going to throw up. So I had stopped eating, which was the wrong
Okay.
thing to do. I should have just pushed through it, but I felt so unwell. And then they checked my vitals and they're like, your vitals are all good, but we'll do a blood test and we'll keep you in just to check. They thought I actually had sepsis. That's why they kept me in. They kept me in for 3 days in the end just to make sure that I wasn't dying. But actually, I really just think I was hungry. That sounds so mad, but I really do. I think
You
it was
just
all
had the
just because
hangries.
I was so like run down and just like you say, I was in shock from just the intensity of it all. What was really funny is that at the 2 hour mark, the senior midwife came back in and she was ready with the um oxytocin drip. She was like, "So, guess you don't need this drip then." I was like, "Nah." And then the ladies that were looking after me all night on the ward came in and they were like, "Oh my God, we just heard about how amazing you were. Like, you just had a baby in 2 hours." Like, they just, yeah, everyone was so lovely and complimentary. And like, some of the midwives, like, it sounds really, like, it looks really weird looking back on it, but it was beautiful at the time. They were all so affectionate and lovely, like, all holding Teddy and like talking to me so nicely. And they put like my placenta and my uh, and the umbilical cord in like a little heart shape and took loads of pictures of it and stuff. Like they were really like, I don't know, they wanted me to have lots of nice memories and
Wait, they
um,
they shaped your placenta and umbilical cord into a little heart. I'm like a little bit like that's
it's so
like,
weird. It's so
but
weird.
I really appreciate that sense of
It's
humor.
cute. I
That's
know.
like so fucking weird, but so fucking
Yeah.
funny.
Oh, honestly, mental. Yeah. So I described the whole labour experience as like running 2 marathons back to back. Like it just felt so intense, but it was amazing to have done it. And like, I would have done it with drugs 100%. But the fact that I didn't, I just think, how did you even do that? But, I don't think I deserve any more praise than anyone that does it with drugs. I still think that anyone is just as incredible just getting through it. Like the fact that
Yeah.
baby comes out of us, regardless of how it comes out. The fact that we grow the baby, it's all just insane. I think women are fucking fantastic. Um, and yeah, looking back on it, even though we stayed for no reason because we were both very well, I'm really glad we did because as first time parents, we learnt so much from those midwives in the first couple of days. Like on the
Yeah.
ward, our experience was overly extremely positive and I loved giving birth and I'd do it again in a heartbeat. I think personally I would trust myself a little bit more. Looking back, I think I'd have gone into labour pretty soon, straight after, naturally. Like
Yeah.
I think if I was having those contractions overnight, if I was in a comfortable place at home, I think my labour would have continued through the day, and I probably would have naturally gone into labour probably on the 6th or the 7th anyway. I don't think it would have
Yeah.
been long.
So
Um,
really the only intervention you actually had was your waters being broken, which
yes.
they probably would have done that by themselves.
Probably. Yeah, I think so. And I think if it had happened naturally, it would have happened right at the end before he made his entrance. It probably would have been a calmer, bit slower, bit less intense labour. Um, but I feel like now I've done it and I understand the labour process so well now, I've got a lot of more confidence. So, that can only be gained from going through it in the first place. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to shout out to the Positive Birthing Company for teaching me and equipping me with that knowledge to turn it into a wonderful, empowering, positive experience for me. Because, funnily enough, I'd always felt I would have a really similar birth experience to my mum. That my mum and I's experiences were so extremely, extremely similar. She had me in 2.5 hours. I had Teddy in 2 hours, and I had tools to help me learn about, what labour would be scientifically. We had, the backstory and the tools to get through it, the birthing comb, the TENS machine, the breathing. My mum didn't have any of that. And so the difference was my mum was petrified the entire time. She said she screamed her entire labour. She was
Bless her.
scared. She was tense. The whole thing was really painful and she didn't understand what was happening. Um, and she was there for me while I gave birth, but she just kept saying to me afterwards, I cannot believe how silent and calm you were the entire time, how confident you were, how trusting you were in your body and your body's ability to just do it and do it
Yeah.
as it knew how to do. And that was all Positive Birthing Company. So um yeah, that is my birth story. I think it was
So
a pretty
how do you like looking back on your birth now, or Teddy's birth now, your labour, how do you feel about it?
yeah, like how I just said, I think I thought it was a really positive and amazing experience. That I would do again in a heartbeat. But I do think the intervention was necessary when I had it
Do you
because
think so from how you felt about it straight afterwards to how you feel about it now or how you remember it now, is it different?
100%. When I first had him and I came home and I still remembered very vividly that pain of labour, I didn't think I would ever want to do it again.
Yeah.
Um,
See, in my head, I feel like I was like, fuck no, not having any more children. That was horrendous. Whereas
yeah,
now I think like in my head I know that it was horrendous, but in my head I feel like my brain has changed how I've interpreted that pain to the point where now I'm like, no, I'll do that again. But then I don't know if it's just all the love, because like Mads is now at that age where just everything is amazing and I every second is lovely and I'm just like I need more of that love. Like I want more. So I'm like, yeah, we're gonna have another baby next year. We're definitely gonna have another baby next year. I'd 100% do that again. But like I'm like, are you playing
oh,
tricks on me?
Courtney, are you
What's
sure?
going on?
Are you sure? Oh God. It was a
100%.
lot. It was a lot, wasn't it?
It was, but then I'm like, I look at Mads and I look how he is now, and I'm like, oh, you
I
so need
know.
a brother.
It's so worth it. It's so worth it. That's the difference. Is when I gave birth, I had a little alien that I thought, what the fuck? I was so afraid. I was so shocked. I didn't know. I This is something I haven't said, but when I was pregnant, from the minute I found out I was pregnant, obviously I was on the coil. I thought this is an impossible pregnancy. And then I went for my initial scan at 4 weeks pregnant, and they told me that there was a really high chance that this wasn't going to go well. I had my underactive thyroid. I got pregnant on the coil. The coil was still in there. They're going to take the coil out. Doing that might kill the baby. Even if it doesn't, there might be complications. The chances that this pregnancy is going to go well is are very, very slim. Hence, I didn't share my pregnancy at all. I was
Yeah.
completely silent about it. Um, from being a person that was like, really, really open with the public. Like I've been posting on Instagram since I was like 16, constantly about everything. I don't keep anything a secret. And I was so petrified that I was going to lose this baby from day dot that I didn't say a single thing. And I was petrified in my own mind the entire time. And I thought if I don't lose the baby throughout the pregnancy, I'll probably die in labour. Baby will probably. Why am I like this? I honestly, I, I constantly think I'm going to die or something bad is going to happen. I'm a very positive person, but in the back of my mind, I always have thoughts like this. And so, anyway,
Intrusive thoughts.
all the time, all the time. So I think my brain had told me over and over again, this isn't going to end well. You aren't actually going to end up with a baby. So I didn't want to buy like baby clothes. I didn't really want to prep for having a baby. I didn't want to think about being a parent because all of that would have been, in my eyes, I'd be disappointed because the baby was never going to get here safely.
Yeah.
And then I think when the baby didn't make it here safely, I had no idea what to fucking do because I had been telling myself the whole time that it was never going to happen. Um, and I think that is a really huge lesson to me. And now I've been through that once, I think I've learned so much from it, and I would be able to talk to my brain in a more logical and sensible way in the future. And I wouldn't be so shocked with the second because obviously, we know what we're doing now, and it's all a bit more. But yeah, that the reason I felt so differently about Labour was because I didn't think it was worth it to begin with. I thought, what the fuck has happened?
Yeah.
It it was a lot. But
Do you
now,
think you'd have another child now?
yeah, yeah. Marcus still doesn't want one though, so it's still not on the cards. But um,
I just
I,
feel
I
like the love,
I'm up for it.
it just sounds really cringy, but I think if you're a parent, you know, the love just fucking smashes out any bollocks of getting them here. Like you just like, oh, just in this bubble of
Yeah, the
yeah,
connection. It for me, it's less about like for me, the word that I really feel more strongly about is connection than love right now. I feel like Teddy probably doesn't even know that he loves me, but what we have got now is a really strong connection that we
yeah,
didn't have when he was initially born because I didn't know him and maybe he knew me, but we were just learning each other. But what we have now is this beautiful, beautiful connection where he knows I'm his mummy. He trusts me. And I
yeah.
guess he loves me. And I definitely love and trust him. I mean, fuck me, he keeps biting me though. But um
Madge is doing the same thing at the minute, and I'm like,
oh
bro,
god,
you have
it's my
teeth. This hurts.
my shoulder and my knee, they're so bruised. Like he just I don't know what is up with him. I think he's teething, he must be. But yeah, it's intense. But yeah, it's the best thing ever. Being a mum is the craziest and best thing I've ever done. So we've had the birth story, we've had our little snack, and now let's get into our anonymous confession segment of today's episode. So, we have an anonymous confession from someone. Well, it's not really a confession, actually, this one. It's just a little story time from one of our listeners who hasn't actually given birth herself. She has, but she didn't have a vaginal labour. And she,
Okay.
she, she
It
had a
just
baby.
appeared.
It just
The
appeared,
baby
yes.
just, the stork brought the
No.
baby.
Oh God, what a silly thing to say. So she says that my labour was fun, which is lovely to hear, isn't it? So nice.
Yeah.
She said, I don't know if it's a sarcasm either. My labour was fun. I had an emergency C-section. I remember being so hot, so I was naked, completely naked. I had to be rushed to theatre and refused a gown. So all I had over me was a was a hand towel covering my tits and minge. Being
Love
pushed
that.
through the halls like that was something to see. I just didn't care. The surgeon was gobsmacked when I went in.
Is this
Theatre
her
was
first child
daunting.
or second?
Only.
Ah, okay. So that's, yeah.
Maybe that's why. So she says theatre was daunting as it was handover shift, so they had double the amount of staff, and the fear when their child was pulled out and rushed off into an incubator was horrid. But
Mm.
luckily he was all right, but it was still scary not holding your baby straight away.
Yeah.
Ah, what
I just,
a lovely confession.
it's a lovely confession, but I'm still cracking up at, yeah, flannel over my tits and minge.
Flannel over tits and minge. I'm pleased she even did that. I mean, honestly, I think sometimes it just go where the wind takes you.
Yeah. I think during mine, I had my bottom half out, most of it. And the
Yeah.
midwife kept trying to pull the blanket up, and I was just like, I really don't give a shit. I really don't give a shit. You're all going to see it at some point. I don't care.
How are you meant to push a baby out if you've got knickers on? I had knickers on most of the way through, and I kept thinking, when do I need to take these off? Because there's going to be a baby coming out.
I'll wear some pretty big knickers now, so they're
Same, same.
like parachutes.
Oh. And then we have an anonymous confession from a soon-to-be mummy that says, is it normal to mainly be in camp dread about having your first baby rather than camp excited? I don't think I've even considered the possibility that I might enjoy baby life.
100%. I
I
think
think
it's
so
the fear
too.
of the unknown. It's
Yeah,
not knowing what to expect or um and I think when you hear how hard it is, you only hear the hard parts, you don't hear the good parts because you're anticipating it. But it's hard to explain the good parts until you're there because
yeah,
it's subjective to you, isn't it? Like you say,
exactly.
connection, and we were talking about like the love before, that outweighs all of the things that you might dread, but you can't understand it
100%.
until you're doing it.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel really bad because this is someone that I'm really close to, and I have told her all the things that I found really difficult about becoming a mum and all the things that were
Mm,
really tough and that I wish I'd have known so I could have prepared or at least known that what was coming so that in my head I could have been like it's not all gonna be amazing. There are going to be bits that are really hard and these are going to be the tangible things that I'm going to find really difficult, but the rest of it will be lovely. But I think in doing that I've kind of caused a lot of which is I think the reason that a lot of people don't talk about it is that I've caused a lot of scaremongering almost, like a
you've
lot of
scared the
fear.
shit out of her, Savannah. Oh, bless her heart.
I know, because my experience was so like shocking. I just felt like I needed to tell everyone, but I think I have scared her, and I felt really bad about that. But then I think actually, would I rather be in that camp where I'm dreading everything, and then when it actually happens to me, I think, God, this isn't anywhere near as bad as I thought it was going to be, and I'm
Yeah,
happier and more content, and not shocked and not surprised and not completely unknowing what was going to be in store for me. So I'm hoping she has the most incredible experience, but I do think it's completely normal to not know what to expect at this stage.
yeah. It's
Um,
an entirely new thing. Nobody, until you've had a child beforehand, nobody's literally brought up this thing that you've made from scratch. Like
yeah,
it's completely like it's natural, but it's also completely
of
crazy.
course.
Like,
Yeah. I keep lately the thing that's been going around in my head and that's making me feel so much better about this first year of parenthood for me is that I'm learning too, and like Teddy is learning how to be a human being and grow and learn everything. Like every single day for him is learning, isn't it? But for me, I'm learning every day how to be a mum, how
Yeah.
to raise him, to make decisions that I've never had to make before. I'm learning too. I need to give myself grace for that. And learning is really always really awful, isn't it? Like no one likes
Mm.
learning, but once you've got through the learning bit and you've learnt and you feel knowledgeable and more wise, no wonder old people are so fucking smart and wise, aren't they? Because they've been through all of this, and by the time you get through the other side, you must think, "God, I'm bloody invincible." So yeah.
Oh God. Yeah, it's true. I think, yeah, no, that I can't sum it up any better than that. Spot on.
Oh, thanks,
Yeah.
babe. Well, that summarizes this week's episode. Thank you so much for listening. Um, yeah, that's part 2 of the birth story wrapped up. We've got some anonymous confessions in there, and I hope it's been nice for you guys to listen to. Thanks for supporting and listening along. Please like, comment, subscribe, do all those lovely things for us because that would mean the world. Courtney, anything else to add on that?
I want to hear all of the, yeah, more, get involved, anything and everything, even if it's just something that you don't think is that important. I guarantee somebody else has related to it or we've related to it.
Oh yeah, and also we've now finished our birth stories, but the birth story um parts will still continue. So we've had part 1, part 2, and if you want to be a birth story part, if you want to come on the pod and share your birth story with us, please let us know, and we'll get you on.
We'll call it our own version of the vagina monologues.
I
Is that
haven't heard of
copyright? Can I
them.
say that?
Yeah, I don't know. I've not heard of it, but perhaps
Vagina
not.
Chronicles. Have you not heard of the vagina monologues?
No,
What? Oh my God,
I
Google it.
know. I will. I will. All right. Love you guys. See you next
Bye.
week. Bye.